review 2 continued public hearings this evening, and we have no new openings, I think, tonight.
No.
And then we have some additional business at the end. So let me just call the roll quickly. I'm here. I see Dennis Fiore. Aye, yes, Dennis.
I'm here, yeah.
Nia, Glenn.
That's me.
Aye.
Luis.
Present.
And
Boy.
Melinda, I see, is connecting to audio. So as soon as, oh, there you are, Melinda. Can you just wave your hand and show you're here? Oh,
Nope.
Melinda's there.
No, she left.
Going to get a glass of wine. We'll come back to that in a second. In accordance to Commonwealth of
Pellegrino.
Mass
There she is.
executive order suspending certain provisions of open meeting law, we're conducting the meeting online. We are ensuring public access by both video and audio conference availability. If you are dialing in, I don't see anybody dialing in, but you can do that. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions following the petitioner's presentation and questions from the commission, pardon me. To do so, please raise your hand using participant function or wave to us, or if you're on the phone, *9. Heather, I believe, will mute all microphones, but if she doesn't accidentally, if you could please mute just in case your dog starts barking. The current petitioner and the commissioners will be discussing. I'll call on each commissioner for comments, open the meeting then for public comment. Once there are no more comments, I'll ask for a motion from the commission to continue approve with conditions or not approve, a second and a roll call vote. Once we've acted on an application, the petitioner is free to leave the meeting. And with that, I'm done with my speech. So welcome again, everybody. And tonight, I think, Melinda, will you just wave that you're present? There you are. I think you can see, Heather, the 5 voting members will be, aside from me and Nia and Luis, Dennis and Melinda. All
Sounds
right,
good.
why don't we get started, since we're running a little late, with our first new public hearing at 449 Barrett's Mill Road. This is to a certificate to appropriateness to install 2 new storage sheds. Now, we have had a letter come in today. Did it come in today, Heather?
Yeah.
From the Parks National Park Service. And but I think the thing to do is, are the petitioners here? I saw Luis, and there you are. There's Melissa.
Melissa?
Hey, Melissa. And so I think we should run through the application first. Can we do that, please? Heather, would that be all right? Heather's got a little baby in the off camera there, so if she seems distracted, that's why. So just roll with us tonight, everyone. So Melissa, are you going to present for the applicant? And if so, there you are.
I think Lise was, but
Okay, Lisa, are you there?
Yes, I'm
Ah.
here. Can you hear me?
I can, there you are. All right,
Okay.
well, welcome back. And would
Thank
you
you.
mind walking us through the application, please?
Yes. So
Thank
we
you.
are proposing building 2 storage sheds. One is located in between our farm stand and our white barn. Yes, that's the location. And that is for storage of some of our harvest buckets and food containers. We are currently, the current situation is we are having to store those outside uncovered as we don't have enough space in our barn. And then the second shed is at the back of the property behind our greenhouse, so out of view of the public way. And that is to cover a irrigation well that we had dug in 2017 to protect that, and also to provide us a little more storage space. We are running up against a lot of storage constraints on the property. especially, as the business has been growing, but, it grew even more during the pandemic. And so it has become especially urgent in the past year to have some more storage space. So this harvest shed in the front location, we actually wrote a grant for with the Mass Department of Agricultural Resources it was a food safety grant. So it includes constructing a shed to store more harvest bins in. And it would be a vast improvement over our current situation. You can kind of see in there, we have just basically like a wooden pallet. And during the season, we have a lot of just buckets stored over there. They're not very well protected. When it's windy, they can blow away. It's susceptible to animals being animal incursions, which, just creates more need for us to wash more frequently. So we are looking to keep them more protected and improve efficiency. The well shed behind the greenhouse, as you can see, it's not really visible from the road. And that one, we've had this wellhead, the tank has blown over sometimes in the wind, so we'd really like to protect it. This is something that we got a grant for, but also the town has helped us help fund putting in this well. So it's a town-owned resource as well that we would like to protect. This is a model of the shed style that we were looking at. So for the shed in the front, because it is visible, we're looking at kind of a fancier shed than we would, a farm would normally look for. So we were looking at this Cape Ann style shed. It would be painted white to match the farm stand and the barn, with black shingles on it, and it would be a double door with a ramp on it and a window. And this would be located kind of in a prime location for us efficiency wise to access when we are washing bins and loading up harvest buckets on our truck. So we go back and forth between, we would be going back and forth between this, 30, 40 times a day. So having it close by where we're doing a lot of the actual washing and processing of produce is pretty important. So I think, I'm not sure if there's any other, and this is, so the shed is a shed from Post Woodworking Company in Danville, New Hampshire. So they would come and install the shed for us. So it would be professionally built, not, and they've built a lot of sheds like this before. So yeah, and we chose an 8x12 shed as if we felt like it was kind of the smallest that they offer, but also, it fits in the space that we're looking to have this extra storage.
All right. Can I ask a couple questions real quick before we open
Yes,
it up?
absolutely.
Do you know if the windows on the shed are available without the shutters, the little fake shutters?
I don't know.
And that's just a very minor little
Yeah.
personal thing.
Yes, I believe they are available without the shutters.
Okay.
They
Mhm.
just look kind of silly to me.
Yeah.
Just,
We're fine with that.
Animal Incursions, I think, frankly, is a great name for a band. Have you read the letter from the Park Service?
Yes, we received that today.
Okay, and would you mind commenting on that?
Sure. So yes, we did look at a bunch of different sites near the barn when we were initially proposing this shed, and so there's a couple of problems with other locations that are more screened. So behind our greenhouse, which is one of the suggestions, there's actually several trees, so we would need to cut down trees. It would also more than double the distance that we would be walking back and forth and this is something that as I said earlier, we're walking back and forth 30, 40 times a day. So efficiency wise, it wouldn't make sense, but also we would have to be cutting down trees in order to make space for it. It's also the barn's septic system is located about 20 feet off of that corner of the barn. That is closest to where we were proposing putting the shed. And so that is another hurdle that we would need to, you know, push it back pretty far to for it to be out of the way of the septic system. And, you know, we have concerns about kind of the increased traffic that would be on top of the septic system there. Behind the barn is an option that we had also considered, but just for several reasons, it is an even longer distance. It's the opposite side of the bar of where our wash area is. And, you know, the longer distance we're going to put these clean bins away or grab these clean bins, the more opportunity there is for them to get contaminated. Also behind the barn is where we try to hide things like our dumpster when we have a dumpster on the barn, and you know, our truck, which isn't in the best shape. So we definitely use that area to try to keep things out of sight that might be less attractive. So that would also displace those things as well. So that's, you know, our reason for that placement that we would like for the shed.
Gotcha. Okay.
For the and then I understand that there were some concerns about pre-contact artifacts that may be around where the well is. And we are willing to, if I don't know if it would make a difference if we had we're digging slightly shallower, if we were doing like a 12 to 18 inch cedar post with like a little bit of cement around it, if that changes anything, any of the concerns there. It is also an area that has been disturbed a lot. We have a 500-foot bedrock well, right, that it's covering. And we also have in recent years put high tunnels in right next to that area that required digging down 3 feet every 4 feet. So we've disturbed that area a lot, and the high tunnels that we installed over the past couple of years were through NRCS, and they, as part of installing these high tunnels, they do require someone come out and do a historical assessment of the area, and they were found to be no problem to put up right next to that
Nothing
area.
found. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do see. I mean, part of my read of the letter is that it depends what one means the view of the agricultural setting. It's a farm, so
Yeah.
the whole thing is part of the town's agricultural setting. Our mandate is to preserve the character of the town, which includes its agricultural history, and it's a living part of our town. So, okay, so I think I've got a pretty good grip on things. So why don't I just go around and see what commissioners think? Thank you, Lisa, if you wouldn't mind just staying on
Of course.
here in case there are questions. Dennis,
Sure.
I see you first. Thoughts or feelings?
I just wanted to is anybody from the Park Service there? I know in the letter they said they'd try to get there.
I don't think so, but I don't see anyone, no.
I didn't see any names I recognized. I guess I don't understand the view shed problem. You know, what's one other building or two other buildings going to make a difference? I don't fathom that at all. I stopped by today to take a look at it, and I can't see why that is a problem. I do understand the archaeology, and although it sounds like this area has been disturbed a lot. The well covering, I have no problem with it. That's fine. Is there no way that you can put a lean-to addition or addition on the barn rather than a separate structure?
That is something that we had been discussing with Ryan Orr at facilities and with Delia at NRC. It's been, yeah, this has been a long-standing issue for us of storage, and we've been using some of the you know, they've been like, the facilities department has been gracious in allowing us to use some of the space in the red barn, but and with the idea that maybe someday we would be able to either build additional space on there on the side of the white barn. But you know, the issue with putting it right up against the side of the barn would be it would block the windows, so the lighting in the wash area would be impacted by that. I don't know about like further back. It's starting to get a little bit far from where the wash area is, and starting to create a longer walk. It's basically like if it was right up against the barn, it would just basically be pushed back a little bit more, but would still be in the same line of vision as the shed that we're looking at.
I'm just not gung ho in another structure
Mhm.
there. And I didn't know, you don't have use of the red building at all? Or not much of it?
No, I mean, so we put a few pallets of fertilizer in there every year, just because Ryan at facilities has been really super helpful. And I understand that they are on a lot of space constraints too, and they've been willing to share some of that space, but that's it. We have space for a few pallets in the red barn, and that's all.
So not to prolong this, but what do they use it for? The town uses it for public works, or?
So one of the bays, which is where we put our fertilizer pallets, is a facilities bay that the landscaping crew uses. So in the winter, they store like their equipment and their trailer in there. And then in the summer or in the spring, they move some of the stuff out, so that there's a little bit of space for us to put a few pallets in there.
Yeah.
The other two bays, I think, are used by several departments. I know that the NRC uses them. And I think that there's some stuff from the police department stored there as well. And I'm not sure which other departments, but those are, we've asked about using the red barn a lot, and have been told no.
I guess my major feeling about the building is it looks cute and suburban. It looks like a playhouse for a kid in a suburban yard. I really, are you going to turn it in such a way that we see a blank wall of the building rather than to see the double doors and the cute little window and all that? I'd like to see a blank wall. I think would be
Yes.
my.
It will be the doors are going to be facing. So the street view will be of one of the 8-foot side walls. There will be no window on it. The door and the window are facing towards the dirt road, the driveway. So it would be easy access for us from there to access all our bins.
And I know some of these things come with standard equipment, but they're very residential looking doors. I don't know if there's something that's far plainer that could be there. Just a very plain door without the paneling, which looks like a residential interior door.
I can ask about that.
Good. Okay, those are my comments.
Okay, thank you. I don't see anything, by the way, Dennis. There's a list of options. It doesn't look like there are a whole lot of options for.
Yeah, usually with those pre-made sort of things, there aren't a lot of options.
You get to pick colors and.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Nia.
I think that the concept of these two outbuildings is appropriate in terms of they're for agricultural use on land that has historically been used for agricultural purposes for generations. So from that standpoint, I think they're appropriate. I'm wondering if the one housing the well pump is visible from the river. I mean, we've kind of dismissed that because it's hidden from the road, but that's something I think we need to at least ask Melissa at least if that is visible from the river.
It is visible from the walking trails that are at the back of the property.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's where we keep all of our tractor implements back there.
Right. That's what I assumed. Okay. So I, in principle, don't have a problem with these. I kind of agree with Dennis. You know, if we can keep this as simple and barn-like as opposed to suburban-like, I'd be happy. I don't know if you have those kind of choices.
Sorry. Good night.
I have to say, this is why I love Zoom. We get to see each other's families finally.
Yeah.
Or wait, is that a farm worker? It could be a farm worker.
I'll come and say good night later, okay? Sorry.
That's okay. Nia, were you
Yeah,
set
yeah.
then?
You know, I think this, you know, it's a shame if BJ isn't here to discuss the Park Services issues, but I kind of agree with Dennis. There's a bunch of agricultural buildings, you know, I don't see what the view shed issue is.
Okay, thank you. Luis.
I don't disagree at all with the purpose of the design, and I think that it's being implemented appropriately. On the other hand, we have a very articulate letter that raises some issues that are both of design, appearance, and also archaeological issues. And I think that those issues deserve to be explored, and that collectively we probably can find a solution or that satisfies all the parties, given the applicant the needs, the functional needs they have, and the National Park Service preserving the historical appearance and the archaeological concerns. So I think that we should go and do a site visit with the company of BJ and the Park Service, and perhaps Margie Brown as well.
Or I forgot to ask, Lise, what's the timeline on this? Are you looking to do this ASAP?
Well, so we have them scheduled to come April 8th. I can postpone that. We do have a kind of like the more urgent timeline is the grant deadline. The project has to be completed by June 30th. And for our purposes, we'd really like to complete it in May, no later than May, just because that's our when things get really busy for us, and we'll need it in May.
Okay,
yeah, but we have that absolute deadline of June 30th, and we didn't find out that we got this grant until, you know, the day before we handed in our application, essentially for approval. So because they're running a bit behind this year with grant notifications. So
okay, it seemed, and the only reason I ask, it seems to me if we do a site visit, that would be 2 weeks from today. And in theory, if everything was discussed and agreed upon, we would just that night. You've been through this before. We come out, we view. So I just want to make sure that's not going to derail the whole project.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Luis. Abby, welcome. I'm just going around the horn. Melinda.
My thing is that what you're covering up is more unsightly than what you're covering up with. I agree that the shed could be a little less like my backyard kind of thing. If we do a site visit, you might have a little bit of time to see if there are other manufacturers that could make something look like a small barn, for example, or just something a little less suburban looking. But otherwise, I think you have thought it through very thoroughly, that you've got them in the best position that they could be in, with the least amount of offensive facade facing the street. But you might find a shed that you like a little better if you have another 2 weeks to look. Otherwise, I have no problem.
I would just add, we started looking at shed companies in the fall. And part of the reason that we went with this shed company was because many of them were requiring a deposit to book in a March or April build at that time. So we were concerned that other companies were not going to be able to complete the project in the designated timeline that we have for the grant. So that was one of the major reasons that we chose this company. And we also had cost concerns with some of the other companies that we looked at.
Right.
Gotcha. Thank you, Melinda. Abby, do you want to comment or?
No, I apologize. I'm late to the game on this one, so I will withhold my comments. But I do think if there's a consensus for a site visit, I'm in favor of that.
Okay. I think that's probably not a bad idea. And I think, Lisa, if you're hearing the group, I think what we're trying to say in a nice way as possible is more farm-like, less house-like for the aesthetic.
Okay.
You know, what would what would the 100 years ago they would have built from scrap lumber, and you know, it would have looked like I'm sure it would be offensive to some and it would look beautiful to others, but you know, there you go. So why don't we plan on that? Why don't we plan on a site visit on April 1st, if you would be so good, and hopefully the snow will all be gone by then. And maybe in the meantime, if there are things that come up, just maybe have those ready to discuss. But I think a little site visit would go a long way to helping. And I think, Heather, can we invite the Park Service? I mean, it'll be a public meeting, but I guess we should reach out to BJ.
Yeah, I can let BJ know.
Okay, that would be great.
And would this be in the morning on April 1st?
Ideally, it would be about 8-ish,
Okay.
if that works for the farm.
Yeah,
Does that work?
I know I have an appointment in the afternoon, so.
Okay. So 8 would be terrific. That's our typical routine. Then that evening, we would reconvene and see if there are any final questions and then pass our little verdict. Does that make sense?
Sure.
All right, thank you. So let me open it up to public comment. Is there any public comment on the application at Barrett's Mill Farm?
Hi,
449
Peter.
Barrett's Mill Road? Hi, Mark.
How are you? Sorry, you can't see me. I don't know why. Maybe you can, but
I wonder where Mark was. I
Oh.
figured we came tonight.
Can't see.
hello, Dennis. How are you?
Hi, Mark.
Everybody. Yeah, I think I appreciate you taking time to do a site visit. Obviously, I agree with the National Park Service that this is a very historic site and that needs to be taken into consideration. So, okay.
Okay, thank you. Other public comment, if any, on 449 Barrett's Mill? I don't see anybody. Heather, do you see any raised hands? I see none. All right, why don't we have a motion from the commission, please?
I move that we continue the application for 449 Barrett's Mill Road to install 2 storage sheds until 2 weeks from now, April 1st in the evening, and we will do a site visit that morning at 8 a.m.
All right.
Second.
can I get- Second, all in favor. I'm just going to go around. Dennis,
Aye.
Nia,
Aye.
Luis,
Aye.
Melinda,
Aye.
and Abigail,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. All right, thank you both. Good
Thank you.
presentation, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
All right, well done. All right, team, our next and final continuation is the town of Concord. This is the Main Street District. I'm sorry, this is a new public hearing. This is to install, these are improvements at the intersection of Hubbard and Walden Streets to install travelways, crosswalks, sidewalks, and various markings and improvements right next to the post office. So I don't know who's here from the town.
I believe Patrick Wood is here to present.
Hi, Patrick. Oh, you gotta unmute yourself.
Sorry,
There you
but
go.
can you hear me all
All
right?
right, welcome.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
thank
yeah.
you. Welcome.
yeah.
Would you mind, Patrick, walking us through the application, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And thanks for seeing us. It's nice to meet everybody. I'm pretty new with the town. Only been here for a couple
Welcome.
months. So
All right.
it's nice to see
A
everybody.
fresh target.
That's that's right. I know.
Stop that.
Fresh meat.
He's here somewhere. There he is. Yeah,
That's why they
Steve's here.
sent him.
Fresh meat. I love it.
Come on,
yeah.
Dennis's bark is worse than his bite, Patrick.
Excellent. All right, great. Thank you. Thanks.
All right,
Do you guys have a copy of the application?
we do,
Yes.
yeah, we've got it, and Heather can put it up on screen. I think.
Okay.
I can put it up on screen, or did you want to share your presentation?
Whatever you guys would like to do. We could either just go straight to the presentation, or I can go through the application, whatever.
Let's do the presentation if you've got one.
Yeah, we have a quick PowerPoint for you.
Do you want me to pull it up for you?
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Just grab it.
I was just at this intersection the other day and I had some issue with it. And I thought, oh, wait a second, this is the one that's being redesigned.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I'll give you some quick background while we're waiting for the PowerPoint. So we're planning on doing the road reconstruction for Hubbard Street, partly this year, partly next year. There's going to be some historical drainage issues along Hubbard Street that we're trying to address this year. Let the asphalt settle for a year and then come and final pave it the next year, 2023-ish. So this year, what we're trying to do is get the job out to bid and start everything. First step we really should do is come see you guys. And this project is partially getting funded through the Complete Streets project. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it or there. It's an initiative that Mass DOT started, and it encourages towns to join and adopt a complete streets policy, which just kind of says, we're going to take a look at all inadequate areas of town to improve it for multimodal use, being extending sidewalks, improving ADA ramps, putting in bike lanes and similar things like that. And as part of the Complete Streets policy, you should also be required to create a prioritization list of some of the areas in town that you'd like to hit first. And actually Hubbard Street was one of the first ones on that list. So we received about $270,000 to do these upgrades for the sidewalks along Hubbard Street. And that's kind of how it's partially getting funded.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Heather. This is that's just the title page. I talked about the Complete Streets policy a little bit anyways. When we got awarded the grant money for the Complete Streets funding, there were certain aspects of pedestrian safety that we wanted to increase. Right now, there's the crosswalk at Hubbard and Walden, and I want to say it's about 50 feet in length from one curb to the next curb. So one thing we want to do is we want to shorten up the time that any pedestrian spends on the road and decrease the length. With the parking that's there right now on Hubbard Street, the pedestrians are kind of forced to walk in between the parked cars, walk into kind of traffic in order to get a better line of sight, and motorists can't see them that very well at all. So we want to increase their visibility, and we also want to just upgrade all the ramps, make them ADA compliant. Most of them are not right now. So the big features for the safety are some bump outs, and there's various reasons why we want to do some of the bump outs. The first bump out that we have right here, and a bump out, just so we all know, is just kind of bumping the curbs out about 6 feet or so, far enough so that pedestrians can safely walk out, see past the cars, see when it's safe to cross. The first one that we're proposing is on the church side of the intersection. In the bottom right-hand corner, that's the existing curb radius right now. And you'll see that pedestrians cross the road and they're kind of coming right out to the exit and entrance into the church parking lot. And if we're able to bump it out, we're going to shorten the length from like probably 50 feet to about 35 feet. We're going to save about 15 feet. And we're going to give the pedestrians a chance to walk out onto the sidewalk and not into any oncoming traffic coming out of the parking lot. The second bump out would be primarily just to protect the public shade tree that there's now. You guys are probably familiar with it. It's a big 48-inch, I think it's oak tree. If you walk past it, you can see that there's virtually no room between the tree and the curb right now. And you can kind of tell that one section of the curbing is already popping out from the roots. So to save the tree and the pavement, we'll put in another bump out right there. And then the third one is similar to the first one. There's an existing crosswalk right after the entrance to the post office driveway. It's still in between a few parked spaces. So if we were able to put a bump out on one side where the parking spaces are, pedestrians are able to kind of come out onto an ADA ramp and cross much easier. So those are really the big key safety features that we're looking at for Hubbard Street within the historic district.
All right, Patrick, thank you. Is this decreasing or increasing parking at all or no?
We've had a few conversations about that, about what's going to end up happening with the parking. And the way we have it right now, there could be one parking space that is eliminated from and that's the one with the maple tree there. The other one, I think we're able to shift a space down to make up for that one, if we need to.
Okay. All right, I don't have, and this is all the signage is going to be standard Town of Concord pre-approved. There's a little.
Yeah, all signage will have to conform to MUTCD standards.
Okay. Okay, I don't really have any questions. Let me go around and see Dennis.
Of course, I don't like any of this because I think it's taking away some of the charm of the town to do all of this sort of bumping out and moving around of sidewalks and all this sort of thing. But I understand the practical reasons for it. So, given that, I certainly understand. How many incidences have you had of pedestrian mishaps in this intersection?
Dennis, I'm sorry, I don't know that Steve Dukran, our town engineer, he might know that, but if he doesn't, I can look into it a little.
Hi, Stephen.
Yes, hi. I'm also fairly new with the town, just over a year, but we're not aware of incidences, but from what we know about people trying to get, when they're parked cars, trying to sneak between the cars, it's a safety issue. I'm sure there are a lot of near misses, but we can find out if there were any reports of pedestrian accidents there.
And just out of curiosity, why'd you take the parking from the other side of the street?
That happened a couple of years ago. And what we heard is that when you have cars on both sides, you're only left with about 18 feet to split between two lanes of traffic. And especially during snow season, it becomes a safety issue, especially if you're trying to get an emergency vehicle down the street. So it was a decision made by the police department to eliminate that parking.
Great. Those are all my questions for now.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm just going around. Melinda.
I have no concerns about this. I mean, I think it's going to get passed no matter what we say. So, but I do think that I cross there frequently, and I would agree that some of these things will actually be very beneficial.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Berisbeitia.
I don't have any objections. I understand what Dennis is saying, but on the other hand, there have been many interventions in town that reshape things and make it look very different. And I think that this is going to improve the pedestrian traffic.
Thank you, Luis. Nia.
I agree with Dennis. I don't like it, but I think the safety issues trump it. Given that I'm the resident tree lover in the group, I would just say that I think it's great they're doing a bump out for the tree, but it would have to be done very carefully because I don't know what's happening with the feedback here. Because actually disturbing the pavement around the tree may do more damage than leaving everything as is. So that's something that I hope the powers that be are doing serious research into.
Okay, thank you, Nia. Abigail.
So I disagree with everyone that has an issue with it. I think anything that improves the walkability in the Main Street district in particular actually enhances the district. The more easily pedestrians are moving about and accessing, the town sites and, all of that, I think is an absolute win for the district. I like to see people moving their cars less through the center of town, and this increases pedestrian safety. And I've walked that intersection. There are 2 preschools right there. I think this is a no-brainer in my mind, both from a safety perspective and from the goal of increasing walkability in the district. So I'm in favor of it. But I agree with Nia that I think it's great that they want to protect that tree because that tree is very important. I just hope it's done in a particularly cautious manner.
Thank you, Abby. Patrick, I actually had one other question. You're sort of rerouting the church's driveway there. Have you spoken to them about that? And I'm assuming there aren't going to be any issues with, the town will cover the cost of whatever that reconfiguration needs.
Yeah, we're trying not to touch anything within the property. And at this point, we're still investigating it. And we will bring this up with them because it's going to obviously change how they are. So
yeah, it's just like it turns it a little bit. And that's not going to cause other issues, is it? Like site issues with people coming in and out of that driveway? It'll change it a little bit, but.
Yeah, we've looked at it, a few things. We've looked at turning radius and we've modeled the traffic coming out of it. We're trying to maintain what is existing. So same widths, same turning abilities and maneuvering.
Okay. They're Congregationalists, so they're very cooperative people. Not as cooperative as Unitarians, but they're pretty cooperative. You just have to put something in the collection plate. I'm just kidding. Okay, I don't really have any other questions or comments, so why don't we open it up to public comment? Is there any public comment on the reconfiguration of the intersection here at Walden and Hubbard and associated work? And I'm just looking around.
Hi.
Hello, Judy. Welcome.
Hi, I'm representing the church. Thank you for saying how cooperative we are. We try.
I'm a good friend of Bob Brown's.
I know that.
Take that with a tongue in cheek. Yes.
I just wanted to mention that, we refer to it as the church's entrance and exit. And really, that is rarely used during the week. It's basically used occasionally on Sunday morning when someone is dropping someone right at the door, and certainly used for funerals and weddings, but rarely used weekdays. So, and I think this will be an improvement for the church as well as for the town.
All right, thank you, Judy. Are there other folks who'd like to comment on this work before we take it back to the commission? I'm looking to see, are there any hands up? I don't see any. All right, well, Judy, please give my regards to Bob Brown. And why don't I look for a motion from the commission you would like to make? I think we'll still, Abby, if it's all right, we're going to leave you out of the voting block here.
I move that.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Luis. No.
See,
I
look at
move
that
we
collision.
approve the
There's a
application of the
collision.
town. Oh.
No.
I move we approve the application of the town of Concord for Hubbard Street and Walden Street to reconfigure the intersection, including the travelways, crosswalks, and sidewalks, as long as the town takes special care and consideration of not harming the currently existing tree adjacent to the church.
Second.
I need a second there. All in favor, Dennis?
Aye.
Nia?
Aye.
Luis?
Aye.
Abigail? And Melinda?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. You're unanimously approved, and thank you for the presentation, Patrick. Stephen, nice to meet both of you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck getting the project in on budget and in construction. And Judy, thank you for representing the church. All right.
All right,
Well,
thank
you're
you,
good
guys.
you're good to go. And I feel badly, but I called both of those continuances. They were both new public hearings. So I'm correcting that for the record.
Don't worry, we just let it go.
Thank you. And I think that's it for public hearings, correct, Heather? I don't see anything new. All right, so we're on to other business. So why don't we start with 10 Walden Street? This is a signage preliminary discussion for some new signage. The owner of Jack and Toba. And is that you, Susie?
That is me.
Hi, welcome.
Did I have some big blue square with an S on it?
Yes, you did. That's
That
what you
was
had.
so annoying the whole time. I just want you to
Oh, I know. It's Zoom
know what
settings.
that was.
It's a Zoom.
Anyway, hello.
Hi, welcome. Tell us what you're up to.
So I have a business currently, Jack and Toba, at 17 Walden Street upstairs. And I have a sign, a beautiful sign that was made 9 years ago, a blade sign that I would like to move to my new location at 10 Walden Street, which is where Montague Gallery has been for many years. And I'm just, that's simply what I want to do. My sign was, of course, approved years ago. Currently, there is a sign there for Haute Coffee. And
Do we have a picture, by the way?
Yeah.
Is there- Okay.
so Heather, yeah, I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
So the sign, sorry, I interrupted you. There's a sign for Haute
No,
Coffee.
okay. So, well, this is my current sign.
Mhm.
And there
There's
is the Haute sign.
Okay.
And there's a good shot of the whole building, right? So I was hoping to put my sign really mirroring the French lesson sign. Exactly. And of course, I understand what that it has to be 10 feet from this, from the bottom to the sidewalk, and 4 feet out, I think, is the maximum. But anyway, when you're walking from kind of either direction, I'm a bit worried that it might be obstructed by the Haute sign, but I don't want to. I love them. We're friends. I don't really want to disturb that, but I don't, so I just am putting it before you, what you think, and if it would make sense to go.
So tell me again. So there's a sign, there's a blade sign, and then there's a sign along the band as well, correct? Is that?
Well, yeah, that's so. And in the future, I was thinking of.
Okay, so there, yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of, I'm not completely thrilled with it. I feel, Heather, is this the one that not sure if that's the one. I think one that I sent you was a little smaller, or is that? Okay. So there's kind of two renditions of it, I think. The one with the canopy. And just to let you know, full disclaimer, when the landlord was cleaning out and preparing the space after we rented it, when we signed the lease, I asked them to take the awning down, and they did. And I think that I might have I didn't know if I should have done that. But anyway, without your permission.
I'm not sure I would have noticed. What does the awning
Okay,
say on it?
whoops.
What does
Sorry.
Does
So
the awning say something on it? I can't.
it says Montague Gallery.
Gotcha.
So I
Okay.
obviously had to take it down, but
Okay. So this is there's potentially a blade sign and a sign along the band.
right.
Okay, let me just go around and see what folks think. Let's start with Abby, since she's the chief of our sign police.
So I see your conundrum with the Hote sign, because that's a natural location where you would put your blade sign. I think you guys got to work that out with each other, because I don't think it makes sense. I think you're going to both obstruct your signs. And with French lessons there, the 3 signs there, it's going to be difficult to read any of them traveling in one direction or the other on Walden. So it may be that it makes sense to move that sign to the other, the other corner. It may make sense to adjust them somehow. But I see what you're saying. I think a blade sign is totally appropriate. The sign that you have is appropriate. In terms of the best spot to put it, I think it would be difficult to place it in a good location with the Hote sign where it currently is. So that's my kind of thought on the blade sign. Just in terms of feedback on the wall sign, I think it's a lot of text, and that's not something we typically see. Usually it's simply a business name. So if we were discussing that tonight as part of an application, my recommendation would be to just have your business name. But that's a decision you can make when you submit the application. But have you spoken with Hote? Are they open to moving their sign?
I did kind of informally, well, obviously informally speak with her, and she said that it was where the Historic Commission had told them to place it.
It's where we told them to put it.
Yeah.
Well, we can tell them to put it someplace else too. If this needs to be like a brokered piece of like, let's figure out the best place to get both these signs so you both have visibility. Yeah, so I would be open to relocating that sign if they were open to it and figuring out the best place. You've got 3 retail businesses operating in this building. If they want to come back and we want to look at them cohesively about if we need to adjust heights and all that to make it work, I'm open to that. So I don't know how other commissioners feel.
All right, how about, sorry, Susie, I cut you off there.
No, I was just gonna say also this, I agree with you about all of the letters. I feel like it's just too busy. This was just kind of a quick, I knew this was an informal, meeting. So I think I would want probably just Jack and Toba if I'm going to have anything, which it makes sense to have something on that wall. But yeah, I agree with you. It's too busy.
It may be the other lettering goes on the glass or something, or on the door or something.
Exactly.
And let me just keep going around. Luis, any thoughts?
I don't think that there's any way to harmonize the hot coffee sign and the new blade sign. I think that no matter where if you choose that corner or the natural place for the blade sign, for the new blade sign to go, they are going to clash. In addition, I'm thinking to what would be an alternative place for the blade sign of Jack and Toba. And there are no really other good places. It could be protruding from the blacks section where the actual name of the store is going to be, or it could be a little higher, but no matter how it's done, it's going to clash. So I think that there has to be, unless Hot Coffee is willing to almost move their sign much higher and move it 45 degrees or something like that, it's going to be very difficult. And again, I wish I will be all wrong, and that somebody's going to come up with a very good, attractive solution. But I foresee a lot of trouble with that blade sign, and I think that there should be a blade sign there, but I don't know exactly how to put it. And I agree with the busyness of the lettering, but you know, I think that we all are in the same page with that. That's all. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Luis. Dennis.
I can't add anything new. I think the quandary is working out, as Abby said, and Luis, the placement of that sign. And I agree that also that we should keep it simpler above the window. So I have nothing else to say about it other than you need to work it out.
All right, thank you, Nia.
I agree with everything that's been said. I just wondering, Heather, is it possible to pull up the opposite corner, the J. McLaughlin corner? I'm sure they'd have a heart attack at the thought of moving the Haute Coffee sign there, but is it possible to see a visual of that, or is that not something that's readily visible?
Yeah,
Yes?
if I may mention, I'm sorry to interrupt, that building is recessed in relation to the other building, so a sign in.
Oh, okay, all right, so that's not an option, all right.
Well, it may be, but that's, just to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, it's back.
I was just wondering if Haute could be moved over to that side, but that doesn't look like that's a very promising thing. Yeah, I just think you got to hammer it out between the two of you. That isn't probably what you want to hear. The good news is I think getting the awning off is a plus.
Yes.
And I think at the very least move on an application to put the business name in the band above the store as soon as possible without the extra language.
Yes.
But I'm
All right,
sorry, I
thanks.
don't have a brilliant idea for the blade sign.
Thanks, Nia. Melinda.
I have nothing to add. I mean, the truth is, if you don't put a sign up until you get your banner, you're looking at, nobody's not going to know who you are at all. I mean, on the wall there. So I can't imagine actually why she would be sorry to move this to this area and coming around the corner and having it instead of coming up perpendicularly, but you know, so she'll get more visibility, truth be told, if she moves it and has it facing the street. But other than that, I mean, as soon as you get something painted on the wall, you'll actually have a very nice look compared to, you know, the French lessons is really fairly narrow letters. And I think what you have planned there will be great, but until you get it there, you're not going to have much.
I have windows. I finally have windows. I've been upstairs for 9 years.
It's true, there are windows. All right, well, Susie, I hope, was this helpful? It really is just your initial feedback, so.
Yeah, I did think where Heather kind of pointed that little arrow, like, because when you're on the street, somehow it does look like it's going to work. If we could, there was the one picture, if we could, do you have the picture? No, get rid of those letters. I can't stand those.
There we go. That's it.
Yeah. So when you see, well, I mean, we can see what it looks like, but do you see where the French lesson sign is?
You're thinking about
You don't think that it would work right there?
It may.
It may. I have no problem with it there.
Okay.
If you want to try it.
Yeah, at the same height of the French lessons. You see that?
Yeah, so it's lower, right, than the Haute.
Right. That's a good, I think that's a good solution.
Yeah, that'd probably work okay.
So, I mean, yes, the moment you look at that building, it's like, well, that's where, that's where my sign needs to go. Why is Hote there? But I just am a peacemaker, and I'm just trying to look at all things before that has to happen, but maybe it's going to have to happen.
I mean, I think if you're thinking about placing there with the awning down, you may be able to cheat it more towards that bay window, which may give you some distance from the Hote sign and increase
Yeah.
visibility and reduce
Good
confusion.
point.
So I would look at when you're, if you can kind of Photoshop it in, try cheating it towards the bay window. Because I think if you increase the distance from the Hote sign, that might be an improvement.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth a try. And if you don't like it, you come back and try something else.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
I just want to make sure I asked all the questions, which I guess I
Yes.
haven't really asked any, but is there anything else you could suggest before I come back for the formal proposal when I have my application in and everything?
I mean, the good news is your actual blade sign has already been approved, and I don't think there's any objection to it in its current state. So that makes this much easier, rather than if you were proposing a totally new sign, which we'd have to look at. But I think it's really down to the placement and the bracket. So, and then obviously looking at the wall sign. So, and if you want to do window vinyls, if you want to take the smaller lettering off that and do something on the window, that's always an option. But I think you're ahead of the game in that you already have a sign that's acceptable. But I would play around with the placement and see what you think is the best option if you want to keep it on the front of the building and not have Hote move their sign. So I'd just keep tweaking it back and forth and see what you think makes the most sense.
Okay. Well,
All right,
you.
Susie, thank you for bringing it to us early. So we'll look forward to the formal application.
Thank you. Thank you,
Good
Heather.
luck moving in.
Thank you. Everybody.
All right. All right, Heather, I think we also have 33 Main Street we're going to look at. And this is we've all seen the fantastic damage there. Wow, that was a little scary. And this is to just what sort of pre-approve, fast track the window replacement?
Yeah, so I believe Sharon Spalding is here to represent them.
Hi, Sharon.
She contacted me just because they're looking to kind of replace the window ASAP, just because it's currently boarded up. Business is already affected because of COVID, and I think it may be affecting their business. People may think they're closed because the window's boarded up. So they'd just like to replace the window as soon as possible. And so I suggested perhaps coming to HDC, seeing if you're okay with the proposal, and then moving forward with ordering the window and having it installed while they submit their formal application for the record.
But there's something about a replacement in kind. It's not exact. But...
Correct. So that's the reason they have to come before you with an application, is because it's not exactly a replacement in kind. I believe currently or formally it was one big piece of glass, and now they want to I think use two separate pieces of glass that'll have a small mullion in between.
Just to decrease the size of the pane.
Yeah, so I can share. So this was existing as just one piece of glass, the boarded up window. And then this was the example she sent me of other windows downtown that have that mullion.
Oh, I see.
It's butt glaze, but it's yeah. I think that's fine.
So Heather, that I didn't have an objection to, but the photo on the bottom, this one,
Right,
yeah,
that, yes.
that is, it's not going to look like that, correct? With that width of divide in it, because the ones from Blue and the craft store, I have no objection to. I would have an objection to that bottom one. It looks like a sliding patio door.
Right. I don't know if Sharon can speak to that because they sent me a couple of different photos.
I don't know if other people have an objection to that, but that's.
I agree entirely. I agree entirely.
I have an objection to it. The budding of the plastic seam, isn't that what it is? It's the plastic.
Yeah, the butt glaze solution is the one.
Which is fine, you know.
Okay,
So
Sharon,
do you
are
want
you?
me to, I just want to make sure I keep to the rules. Do you want me to
Oh, you get to
have my
talk.
video? Do you want me to have my video on,
Sure,
Heather?
yes, let's see you. There you are.
Okay, all right. Hello, and thank you for seeing me. My name is Sharon Spalding. I'm from Spalding Management. We're the owners of Concord Square Trust, and we're the owners of the building that houses Camilla's. So about, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, we had some ferocious windstorms, and that broke the window of Camilla's. Heather has been very, very gracious and very patient in that we have sent many renditions because this has been a learning process. When you own an older building, sometimes you have a certain situation that is existing. And when something happens like this, you have to learn. So the first picture was what we were learning. And what we learned along the way is that we could try to do something similar to what Heather showed, which is similar to, I believe it was Blue Dry Goods, which is a silicone joint. So what we're looking to hopefully do with Prudential glass is that we would do a tempered glass because we obviously want safety. And there would be a silicone joint, and that's very similar to what it seems like is in a few different locations in Concord Center. And then Tinted Glass Company would offer a safety glass. Evidently, my understanding is that they're used quite a bit in Concord. So we do, so Heather, hey family.
Sorry, my
So,
husband has to look at her stuff
so
for-
nice.
Oh, she can't vote though. Oh,
We're very happy. So, we do want to do this as soon as possible, only because, as Heather said, things have been so incredibly difficult for the restaurants and retailers in the midst of COVID, and restaurants, I think, particularly. So we want to be able to fix it as soon as possible. What I had said to Heather is we absolutely are happy to replace both sides. I think it makes sense because I think it would look better in the historic district to have both sides, a lot bigger expense for us. Even in these times, but we're happy to do that. I think it would look better. So. Yeah.
okay. And Sharon, are you matching the glass, the tint and reflectivity and all of the other side?
We're happy to do the same on both sides. I think it would look better. I really
Yeah,
do.
right. As long as, like, when you're looking at the front of the store, you don't want one side to be
Yeah, I
bluish and
absolutely
reflective
agree.
in the other one.
I think when you start to replace one, you have to do the other. Absolutely. I don't love the cost of it, but I'm willing to do it. It makes sense.
Okay, Dennis, any thoughts?
No, I think that I'm glad she's willing to replace both sides. I think that will be fine. And the silicone joint sounds great.
Nia?
I agree entirely. I mean, my expectation is it would look something like what was presented as Blue's window with a very narrow silicone joint. And I think it's great that they're doing both sides.
All right, thanks. Luis?
I think that we should make an administrative decision by which replacement of the window with a silicone joint and both windows equal in either side be approved right now, as long as there's a silicone joint, because what it's presented in the material with the exploration, it's a window that has a bar in the center. So tinted glass, it's putting here something that they're calling clear anodized aluminum deep back division bar, which is not what we're talking about. It has to be a very thin silicone type joint. And as long as it's done that way, then I think that there should be a replacement in kind.
Okay, thank you. Melinda?
So I don't know if somebody else brought this up, but you're going to have the black, like the other windows that we like, strip, right? Instead of white going down the middle there.
You're speaking to me?
Yes, I am. Sorry, Sharon. Yes.
I'm sorry, so you're saying it's gonna be a white silicone joint?
Oh, no, I'm asking you what color will it be? It seems to me from looking at the pictures from Blue that their strips are black rather than white, which makes them disappear a little better. No?
Heather, do you have the piece? I know in the rules, I can't, you're the only one that can screen share, but there's a silicone sealant. Yeah.
Is it on this one or?
I think it was the next one. Yeah, there's the silicone sealant.
Okay, yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay.
So Melinda, you're just suggesting that is a dark color, not a light color. or a
Exactly. See how it's
neutral,
dark on those?
or it's neutral. I can't really tell.
I think it just appears dark. I think the
I
silicone.
don't think it is. It's clear.
Is clear, but
You do?
it just
Milky
appears to be
Okay.
a joint. Yeah, it's not actually colored.
Okay. The other one was so obviously white, the pictures that she showed us, that I thought there was a difference.
So Sharon, that setup looks great. The butt glaze with the silicon joint, that looks terrific. And Abby, did you already speak or no? Not yet.
I did at the beginning. I had questions as to which joiner we were talking about. But as long as it's silicone, I'm fine with it.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing, Sharon, is please go ahead, get it started, put the application in. We don't really have any issues. I think my only real concern is making sure that the left side of the project matches the right side on either side of the door. So I think your glazer will know to match the glass type
Okay.
as close as they can. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks
Thank
for,
you.
and good luck getting that replaced. I'm so sorry about the damage.
Thank you. And thank you, Heather. I really appreciate your time and I hope you have a nice night. I'll see you later.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Okay, be well.
You too. All right, I think our last bit of extra business is the expansion of the districts. I don't have anything updated on the Main Street district. The only update I have on Jenny Dugan is at the chair's breakfast on Wednesday. Linda Escobedo said that she's hearing some very positive feedback about our outreach on the Jenny Dugan Historic District. So I was pleasantly surprised to hear that. So
What does that mean?
she didn't really know. She wasn't specific.
Lord knows.
What's positive outreach?
I don't know. No bricks thrown through deck house
With a big
window.
gun.
I'm not complaining, just curious.
Maybe just because we did a site visit, maybe we went and showed interest.
Well, I think our letter, I think we've been trying
Yeah.
to outreach
Yeah.
and be open, and I think people appreciate that. We're going to take this year to sort of get our ducks in a row so that if they do decide to proceed for next year's town meeting, we will have better defined a couple of different issues. And I think the work we're doing with the Historic Commission, the Historical Commission, is actually getting some good, it's setting some good vibes.
Good.
Oh, that's good too. And Dennis, thank you for your efforts on that front as well. So I don't have anything new to report there. Anything, has anyone else heard anything?
Any update on the antique on Main Street that the siding was stripped and Dennis was going to send off a letter?
No, we decided, well, what I could say, we decided not to send a letter because we actually approved replacement in kind, which is what they're doing. In fact, the approval letter or our certificate says you will replace it in kind with the same exposure. So Dennis, I don't know if you want to say anything about, you know, how many times things have been replaced over the years, what's original.
Yeah, I came in, it's this application was sort of being finalized. I did the site visit, but I was not very involved in this. And looking through the application, the material that was sent me, this got a thorough review, and I think their plan, and they had very good drawings. I don't have any questions they're not going to do the right thing. I think Peter's referring to the fact that in back and forth with Nancy Nelson, you know, who knows what's pristine and what isn't. And that house was renovated a number of times. It was Victorianized and then renovated again in the 30s when a front door overhang was taken off. The bay window had been put on at the Victorian period. So it's not a very pristine house in the first place. So, and I'm assuming all of you looked at that material when you were approving it. So I don't see any reason to not trust them to do the right thing.
And I think the good news is that now the windows are in, the original door has been restored and is back on the house. So now that it's not just a solid blue box,
right?
It's looking more reminiscent of what we were used to seeing there. So I think that will hopefully kind of allay some concerns, because it did look like a big blue box, and that's scary. But now that we're seeing some of the original work being put back on, and all of that, I think people will be less disturbed.
Yeah. And Nancy's been keeping an eye on it, reporting back, and she's been pleased with where it's going. So
good. Thank you.
Well, leave sleeping dogs alive.
Yeah, thanks for the update.
And here we've got a homeowner who really is dedicated to preserving the essential.
Right. I agree.
So, these are not the people to complain about. Okay. So I don't have anything else. We did have minutes, which I did not review because I spent all my time just reviewing the certificates. Nia, did you have a chance to look at them?
Yeah, I've looked at all three sets. I have just very minor things. I would just say that the one that covers, I'm just looking at it, the neighborhood meeting minutes. I do think that's important for each member to look at, to be sure that what they said was represented accurately. Sometimes we do it, it doesn't matter who says it, it goes into the minutes. But I think for that one, people had very specific points, and I think they should be sure that their point was well represented. So I'll send in my, very few sort of typo type things, but that was my comment on the overall.
Okay, Heather, can these wait another little bit, or, are people clamoring for minutes?
I just have a quick question. Yeah. Should the deck house be capitalized, or should it be in a small case? Because I think that I made that correction, but I don't see it over here.
Okay. It should be capitalized.
I think that it should be both letters, both words capitalized, deck house.
Okay. All right, folks. Well, I have nothing else. We have nothing else on the agenda. Abby.
So not on the agenda, but first of all, I apologize for not showing up on time.
It's unforgivable.
I did not realize it was Thursday.
You will be severely punished.
I have
unless you bribe us with the bottles of wine.
Your email.
Well, I have a very good reason. So we are expecting our third.
Oh yeah!
I am desperately sick, which is why I'm in my pajamas with a bucket next to me. So I apologize. But
congratulations!
we're expecting a boy in September.
Oh, that's so exciting!
Yeah, so it's really exciting. But that's why I've been a little spotty the last month or two, because I
wonder why.
I haven't been well. If I look like death, that's why. So,
I was suspicious.
I bet. Kind of gray,
women
not on my game.
I thought it was just Zoom.
So yeah, so you'll see me at the site visit. I already look very pregnant. So.
Great.
All right,
anymore.
Wonderful news.
Thank you for letting us know. I was only upset because when Heather shared screen, it showed your email with the first word of which was a curse word. So,
sorry. I didn't realize
now it's part of the record.
Very professional of me. So.
All right. Well, that's exciting.
Thank you.
We're excited. I thought you were going to say
don't delay it, but a quick question before you go away. Any update on Thorough Street? Where is that going through? Is that moving ahead, or?
The little Main Street district expansion.
Yeah, the two little houses were included.
Yep, that'll go ahead.
Submitting the warrant article tomorrow.
Okay,
so it'll go ahead. There was
nothing new there. It's just moving ahead. Okay,
right.
Good.
One owner said they really would prefer we try to do it this year.
That's what I'm remembering. Right.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you.
I
All
move
nice
that we
to see you.
adjourn.
Abby, I hope
Bye-bye.
you feel better.
Bye.
All right. Move to adjourn. Everybody wave.
Wave.
Yeah.
Cheerio.
It's
Thanks,
unanimous
Heather.
adjournment.
Charlotte
Thank you,
Sterling.
Heather.